Good morning everyone and welcome. My name's John and this is the Aussie Endurance Series. This morning we're going to go through a quick race recap of the GT4 race on Wednesday night. Just to try and go through some incidents and talk about some training points and some tips and tricks for the future. So we had a few incidents that race and we just want to go through them and just talk about how to avoid them in the future. It's not about naming and blaming, it's more about just what can each driver do from both perspectives, from the chase car and the lead car. Just so we can learn what to and what not to do. Let me turn that down a little bit, it's very loud. Alright, we're going to come up to the race start shortly. But while I'm talking, any questions, feel free to hit me up in the chat and we can go through it. And again, it's not about naming or blaming, it's just purely a training tool. So we like to do this every now and then, especially once our fields start to get bigger. We need to make sure that everyone's on the same page and keeping up, and just helping our more junior drivers work out what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, the yellow car disappeared, yeah.
Alright, let's get on with the race start.
Space.
Alright, here we go. Clean getaway. Let's jump on a nice high angle here now. So coming into T1, all looks pretty good. Everyone's giving each other plenty of room. No one's sending it or diving it. No three wides, which is good to see. It's important on race start that you always hold your line left or right until you know you are absolutely clear, because it can take a lap or two to get clear of some people, especially once the fields really start getting bigger. But you can see here by about lap 4, everybody is line astern, and looks like one driver has had a slowdown. And on an outlap also, it's very, very important to make sure that you're just keeping it tight, checking up, and understanding that you're in a train, so it's going to check up. Oh, what's happening? Why is it locked? Alright, we just had our first incident behind, so let's go and jump on that one now. Okay. Game's not playing the game for me for some reason. Alright, bear with me while I work out what the hell's going on. Oh, Jesus, what the hell has happened here?
Sorry, Barry. This is race control. Car 999, please redress position to car 38 for contact.
Alright, let's go and have a look at that one. 999. Okay, so we'll go back to the start and we'll follow 999 here. So we'll use our chase cams and our rear chase cams. So 999's out front at the moment. Oh, hang on, this is lap 2, sorry. Alright, from the race start, cruising through, gets a good run on fill there. Checks up, nice and easy in the T1. I think that's technically T2, so this might be T3. So just cruising, he's got cars behind. And everybody's just cruising at this stage. I know it's a long race, a 60-minute race. Car's getting a bit loose up ahead. Oh, car just blinked out. So car ahead's getting very loose. And this is our first incident. And for some reason, he tries to send it up the inside. So I'm not sure what that was about. So let's go and have a look at this one. So this is absolutely not what we want to see. Let's jump on board and let's just see what he's seeing here. So we'll do it full speed first. Okay, so let's break this down. So car behind. The most important factors here is that in our rules we have, if you hear car left or car right, you must give racing room. But you cannot try and make an overtake once the car ahead has started turning in. So let's jump on the car ahead. And let's look at the rear chase camera here. So let's watch for when he starts to turn in. Right now. All right, at this stage here, we can see that the car behind is not alongside. They haven't quite got the gap there. So that's pretty obvious. So at this stage, car behind should not be trying to make an overtake up the inside. So car behind, for some reason, has decided that they want to try and send it into this gap. Now it's a bit deceiving from this camera angle here. You can see here that maybe he thinks he's up the long side, but yeah, by no means, you know, he's here. That car's already starting to turn across. He needs to check out. And let's just jump on and check his brakes. Okay, did he not turn his brakes on at all? Or is it just very hard to see? Okay, he didn't brake at all. His brakes are on. Oh, okay, they're on constantly. Never mind. Okay, so that move was never on. So this is on the car behind. So what he needs to do is he needs to obviously recognize, even though the car ahead is a bit slower and off pace, he needs to check out of this. He needs to brake harder, and he needs to pull that car up, and he needs to tuck in behind. The car ahead, so let me get my right buttons here. The car ahead needs to recognize that there's a car looking up his inside. So he's well and within his right to turn in, but if he sees that car coming at pace, then that car behind, to survive, I'm saying, not to be competitive, but to survive, he needs to open up that steering and give that racing room. So that's what we're talking about today. It's just driving to survive. So it's unfortunate. He had the right to turn in, but yeah, if I saw a guy in my mirror, unfortunately you probably can't see the mirrors. If I had a guy in my mirror, does this work? It does. So let me turn the mirrors on real quick. Yeah, if I had a guy in my mirror, I would absolutely not be turning in. So you can see him there. He's well up alongside in that mirror view. And yeah, I would be leaving racing room, but each to their own. But yeah, certainly the move was not on. Car behind needs to check up. Car ahead needs to leave racing room. If they did that, both cars would have got through this. No further action. But as a result, both cars spun out, and now they're at the back of the field. Now this did come back from back here. So this car came around, bit throttle heavy, bit off track, bit loose. So yeah, it was all a concertina effect, unfortunately. So turn that down a little bit more. That's very loud on my ears for some reason. Alright, let's move on. And it's about being cooperative too. So it's not necessarily about you know, not being competitive. It's about being cooperative with your teammates on track. So we're all friends here. We're not racing for ship stations. We're not doing anything special. We're just racing for fun. So alright, let's see what happened here. Oh, late break. Okay, so this is pretty common. So you've got a train of cars ahead, and this car is coming in. He's got a much higher speed initially, so we can have a look at that. So 173, and let's jump on the car ahead. By the time he starts braking, 170. By the time he starts braking, they're about the same. Okay, so in this case, it's just how heavy he's braking. So the car behind is not braking heavy enough for the train of cars that are in front. So the car in front, he doesn't want to be slow, but he's being cautious. So he can see that there's also cars in front of him. So he's being cautious, maybe a little bit overly cautious. There's quite a bit of room there in front of him. But it depends what he can see in his cockpit as well. Like maybe he thinks he's much closer than he is. So it's important factors as well. So car behind comes in hot. Let's just do full speed. Yeah, just misjudges it. And a bit of a bump in the rear. So it's always important when you're in the train, always think that you're going to lift, coast, and then once they start braking, brake with them. You want to match the speed of the car ahead. You don't ever want to be doing faster than the car ahead. So once he's braking, you should be braking and just match that speed. So that's car behind. For the car ahead, want to manage that gap a bit better. You don't want to be braking too hard. You want to manage that gap. So see the cars ahead, try and manage that gap just a little bit closer. You can see that the cars in front of him were much tighter. The VB car could have been tighter as well. But it's just, just caution on lap 1. Everyone's just taking it easy, so yeah. Just need to be mindful of that. Alright, next one. If there's any self-spins, we'll probably just move on. So in this case, this is just a self-spin on the corkscrew. A little bit too much throttle when the car is loose. Let's see if we get a good angle on this. So coming around, the car gets light in the rear. Maybe flicked a little bit too much and then turn back. Too much throttle. The front loads up and turns in, and the rear has no weight, and around it goes. Could jump on board and have a look at that one. Yeah, was it too much throttle? Just maybe need to straight line that. So for me, what I tend to do is by the time I get to here, I'm turning in tighter. So it's probably a bit wide, in fact. So you need to be much tighter there. And then what you want to do is straight line the angle across the apex, straight line down and go wide. You don't want to be tight around here. You want to be nice and wide. So that's an easy saving point there. But we won't try and get too fixated on self-spins around a specific track. That's just a... Alright, that's an interesting one. Let's jump on board and see what happened here. Oh, looks like you might have dropped the tyre on the right. Ah, yep, there it is. Okay, so anytime you drop outside tyres, those tyres are going to not grip up as hard. So your left-hand tyres are going to bite when you brake because they're on the tarmac. They're going to grip up and they're going to pull that car to the left. And those right side tyres are just going to slip and slide and the car is going to wishy-wash. So your ABS should catch this in most cases. And because both left-hand tyres are on the tarmac, it shouldn't be too bad. It should be able to save it. But if you let it go too far and too hard, then it will loop around on you. And then once it starts going, it's pretty hard to catch. Alright, moving on. Oh, what's happened here? So same thing. So both cars have done the same thing. They've both dropped the right-hand tyres. I was trying to open up the track, but yeah, you've got to be mindful of the width of your car. Pit entry here. Not paying attention. Alright, this is the one I'm thinking of. Alright, this is an interesting one. So let's jump on the car behind. Let's start here. So car behind. He's coming around. Gets a good corner. He sees the car ahead get loose. He's like, oh, okay, that car's loose. Come around. He's still off pace. And he reacts way too late. Let's see if we can spot the moment. So he's already got much more pace than the car ahead. Let's have a look. 140 to 106. He's nearly 35 k's quicker than the car ahead. So this is a big factor. You're going to come across lap cars and it's going to be hard to navigate them, especially when they're loose like this and they're not in control of their car. You got to be patient. So he comes around, flat out, flat out, flat out, flat out, right up his butt, and then he brakes. So the problem here is the reaction is way too late. So he should have identified the difference in speed early on, and he should have lifted off, tried to match that speed, navigated the overtake, and then taken off. A lot of people drive too flat out for too long. They just foot to the floor and then just hope for the best, and that's not what we're about here. So this driver needs to make sure they react accordingly, and just lift off. You got to lift off, and you got to navigate that car in front. So you can see where he's going. You can see that you've got his inside. So you need to lift off, tighten up your corner, and just go up the inside. I don't know if he thought he was going to go around the outside. Let's do some full speed again. Oops, too far. I'm pretty sure the blue car is a lap car at this stage. Yeah, I think he thought maybe he was going to go around the outside, and then the car ahead, just at the last moment, sort of regathered control and came left. Alright, let's talk about the car ahead. So this is a big factor. So he has lost control back here. I'm not 100% if the car behind is lapped or not. So if I was a lapped car, and it's probably important in this league, if you're a lapped car and you make a mistake like this and you've got a car coming up, you're probably best off getting loose here, checking up, and just staying here. Just check up, let the car pass, and then keep going. In this case, he's kept going. He's not on the racing line. He's inside the field, so this is going to make him slow to begin with. So he's going to be slow here. And he needs to slow up even more than usual to make sure he makes that apex, which he doesn't. So he's going to be off throttle. He's probably still braking. Yep, brake lights are still on. So he's still trying to control this car. He gets off throttle. So he gets off the brakes, gets on throttle. And now he's going. And then he gets collected. So this driver struggled with this all night. This comes down to, we wanted to have a chat to him about his hardware settings. Maybe his wheel is too light. Maybe his brakes are too sensitive. There's a few factors here that he needs to work on. Maybe his throttle's too sensitive. But yeah, there's a lot that this driver needs to work on personally, but that's fine. Like, this is a development league. That's what we're here about. So this is where he's going to learn and work it out. So, but yeah, it's just important to be considerate of others on track. So if you are getting it wrong or struggling to keep it right, then just tighten up, get off the racing line, and let the car pass. Yeah. Like, he's not deliberately blocking or anything like that. He's just trying to keep control of his car. And he's really struggling in this combo, this car and track. And then, yeah, the car behind absolutely needs to be more aware. Needs to check up, match that speed, keep it tight, make the overtake. So car behind should have kept this tighter. He's already on the inside, so if you're on the inside, stay on the inside. Keep it tighter. And obviously react a lot sooner. That's way too late to react. Like, he's already right up his butt. So, yeah, very unfortunate incident. But it happens, so yeah, it's good that we can talk through it. And then this obviously caused them both a bit of damage. And now you gotta watch the rejoin. Alright, next one. Alright, just getting the corkscrew wrong. That'll happen. Must be the next lap. So common mistakes, they can be hard to deal with. So if you ever need help, just ask us. Just say, look, I'm really struggling here or struggling there. Not sure what to do, and then we'll help you. We'll jump on the car with you. And another one. So this is an experienced driver, 3.5K driver, and even he was struggling here. So it's not just the low-ranking drivers or the inexperienced drivers. It's everyone. Everyone makes mistakes. This is an interesting one. Alright, let's jump on this one. Okay, so same driver ahead is still struggling. So this car comes around, down the hill, last moment, sees the car coming back across the track. I'll try and get a better angle here so you guys can appreciate what happened. So, car ahead, gets loose, can't control the car, loses control, tries to save it, tries to get out of the way, and causes contact. So once again, he's a lap car at this stage. He's really struggling with this track and this combo, which again, that happens. You know, it's not his fault, it's just not his jam. Alright, so what could happen? So, let's jump on the car behind. So the car ahead, there's nothing he can really do. He's lost control. He's trying to gather it up. He probably could have... Did he get off the brakes there? I can't really see his brake lights. Are they on the whole time? Brake lights are on. Still on. Off. Oh, okay. Alright, they were off the whole time. Okay. So this driver, he needs to, once he starts losing control, he needs to do what we call the snapshot, where you brake and throttle together at the same time. And what it does is the game has this weird mechanic where it just straightens out the car. So he needs to identify that he's out of control and he needs to brake hard. Try not to gather it up. Just let me grab some more perspective. Here we go. So instead of trying to correct and save the car, so you can see he's counter steering. All right, so this is a good teaching point. So we'll probably raise this in the chat. So if you're losing control, heavy on the brakes, gather the car up. If he did that back here, actually if he did that here, as soon as he started spinning out, got heavy on the brakes, the car would have just pulled up here on the right and he could have regathered and kept going. So that's a learning point for him. Now for the car behind, this is tricky because on a single monitor, this is about all he can see. So he knows that the car on the right is spinning out. He can see that. That's pretty obvious. What he doesn't expect is the car to start coming back across the track. But this is something you can anticipate. In iRacing, it's always important to expect the worst. So when I see someone spinning off on the left and I move right, I'm expecting them to come flying back across the track to the right-hand side in front of me. It always happens. You can't avoid it. Sorry, it doesn't always happen, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back on track. So at this stage, we're doing full speed. So you can hear that he's full throttle, because what he wants to do is he wants to try and power past this car before he comes back across track. Instead, what he needs to do is check up. So as soon as that car gets loose, check up, match his speed. You want to match his speed ahead, so that if he does come back, you have the ability to check up even more and navigate that car. So yeah, definitely need to reduce the speed once someone's spinning or crashing in front or losing control. Need to reduce that speed, and then you can more easily navigate what's happening. And that's unfortunate because this car was doing really well and the car ahead was a lap car. But again, development series, no one's at fault here. It is what it is. It was an accident, and that's fine. We're all here to learn. Now, rejoin's a bit tricky because that car's waiting for the traffic to clear. And off he goes. Alright, next one. Alright, interesting one. Okay, so. Who's making the overtake? Alright, car behind's making the overtake. They can't get past there. Lead car goes defensive. And this is the critical part here. Lead car isn't braking hard enough. So they broke about right at the 2 borders, about the right point. In fact, it's probably braking early. So he's doing the right thing. He's braking early. The car behind's also braking early. So they're both anticipating what's going to happen. But because he's carrying too much speed, he can't pull it up and get it turned down to the apex. And the car behind is anticipating that he's going to turn in and then goes to accelerate to do the over-under, not realizing the car ahead isn't actually throttling on. So it's a genuine mistake. He wasn't trying to bump him in the rear and do a bump and run. He was just trying to do an over-under, but misjudged what the car ahead was doing. All right, so for the car ahead, what he needs to do, what they need to do, primarily, and there seems to be a bit of a common trend with this car, so we'll have to have a chat with them about this. They tend to not brake hard enough for some reason. I'm not sure what's happening in their cockpit with their pedals, what they're feeling or what they're seeing, but they're not braking hard enough. And as a result, they're going deep. And then because he can't get the car to pull up, he stays on the brakes. So you can see there he's turning and turning and turning, but the car's not turning because he's understeering. And he's trying to slow the car up so it grips. But consequently, what he's doing is I think he's braking harder. And because he's braking harder, the ABS is engaging more, which should help him turn, but it'll still mitigate some of that turn. So he's understeering because he's heavier on the brakes. So what he could have done is let off the brakes a bit more, and that would have allowed the car to start turning, and then he might have actually got a bit of momentum around that corner. There's no harm, no foul here. It was an honest mistake, but that's fine. But yeah, so if he brakes harder, early on, so needs to brake harder there earlier on, and then ease off and throttle in and trail brake through the corner. For the car behind, he needs to appreciate that the car ahead is not at his level. So there is quite a difference in levels here. One's 3.5k, the other one is less than 1k. So he needs to appreciate the difference. And you need to have your eye overlay, or whatever overlays you run, you need to have your overlays up so you know an idea about the car you're battling. So you can check their I rating, their safety rating, all that sort of stuff. And if you see that they're a low I rating, you go, all right, this guy might not be quite sure what he's doing. I'll just be a bit more patient, and I'll just be a bit more hesitant. I'll give a bit more room, and I'll try and have a bit of better run down the straight. The car ahead is battling really well. He's allowed to do that. That's well within his rights, and he's doing the right thing. So yeah, it's up to the car behind to make the pass cleanly. And in this case, he's tried to do an over-under, but it's just got caught out by the car ahead, still trying to pull the car up to get it to turn. So yeah, he just needs to be more patient. This would catch out most drivers. I don't think any driver would not have bumped him here. But yeah, you can see he let off the brakes for a moment and then try to turn in. So what you could recognize is that car ahead, you turn in, he's still on his brakes. Okay, I need to stay on my brakes. I better not get off my brakes until he gets off his brakes. And off they go. So a bit of front end damage for the car behind. That might hurt him. Car ahead probably got a bit of rear end damage, which also may hurt his top speed. But generally not too much in that one. But yeah, the point here is just, yeah, drive to the driver that you're battling, understand their level of ability, and they go from there. All right, next one. Yep, a bit of bumping and grinding. This one's fine. There's no problem with this one. I'm not sure if they're battling. I feel like the orange car is a lapped car. So it's important in your leagues and your officials that you understand the rule set. And in our league, per the officials, blue flags are for information only. They're not there to tell the car in front or the lap car that he has to get out of the way. Absolutely not. The lap cars, they get a blue flag to say, look, there's a faster car coming up. It's more about saying, be safe, be consistent, and then it's up to the faster car behind to make the pass. So in this case, the car behind leaves ample room. There's enough room there, but the car behind washes out a little bit into them. So the car behind needs to check up a bit tighter. So when you're on the inside of a corner, you need to be much tighter. And you can see he actually comes in quite deep. So maybe he needs to brake a bit harder as well. The car ahead is braking more effectively. So, and he lets off just a moment there. So he's obviously not anticipating to stay tight. So the car behind needs to keep that tight. Especially being a lapped car, you don't want to interfere with the lead car. So yeah, got to keep that nice and tight. That could be a misunderstanding of the corner, like not understanding the line around this corner, and maybe he's been getting it wrong the whole race. Whereas the lead car, you know, better understands the track and how to take it. So he knows you need to be tight around there. So it's fine. That contact is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a bit of bumping and grinding. No one got hurt. No one got pushed off track. And then the lap car checks out of it. He's like, oh, I probably shouldn't be battling here. So I'll check out, let these guys go, and then I'll get back into it. So that's all fine. No issues there. Yeah, just got to be careful. And again, just be... I've forgotten the word already. But yeah, considerate. Considerate of others on track. Alright, this one's unfortunate. I think he just dropped tyres, pushing too hard around here. Yeah, he's already loose. Already loose, and then that rear left drops off. So he's on the limit. Rear left drops off, and then and then loses the rear. He does the right thing initially. You see he taps the brakes. If he stayed on the brakes then, that might have saved. Yeah, counter steering is the worst in iRacing. And it catches a lot of drivers out, unfortunately. Let's get back here. Yeah, you can see he's already sliding. If he stayed flat and kept the wheels straight, he probably would have survived that one. But yeah, tricky one. Alright, let's not get fixated on that one. Looks like it caused a fair bit of damage, that one, unfortunately. Alright, what happened here? Oh, yep. So similar to earlier, just misinterpreting the speed of the car ahead. So, because that car ahead is off racing line, he's going to be a bit slower through this corner. So the car behind needs to be aware of that and just needs to anticipate that. So check up a little bit more, keep it much tighter, and try and get the under. He sort of does try. You can see that he's still 90 degrees left, but he's already got back on the throttle. And that's the problem. He needs to stay off throttle for a little bit longer and just let the car stay tighter until he's clear of the car on the right, and then floor it. But no dramas that one. There's a little bump and love. All right, next one. All right, lap car again. So same issue again as before for the car behind. So lap car is struggling. So in this case, he's hit that curb, the sausage curb, and that's really unsettled the car, and he's really trying to gather it up. And car behind just plows through. This is just stays flat for some reason. I'm not sure what they're thinking here, but yeah, they gotta just ease up. You need to match the speed. Like I think he thinks he can go around on the left, but then the car's just fishtailing back and forth. And he's like, oh, I better go in underneath, but he's just got too much speed. And contact is made. So again, this car needs to be aware of the ability of the car ahead. It needs to watch the speed. Let's see, at the point of impact, let's see the speed difference. 152 to 134. So nearly 20 k's an hour difference. That's huge. So yeah, they just need to be more aware. Car ahead. Obvious one here is don't hit the sausage curves, but you know, it's hard to, on a car that feels loose, it's hard to be consistent. So he's got it tight, but it's just too tight. So it's just gripped up a little bit more than he expected. And he's trying to gather it up. Let's jump on board here. Let's jump back so you can see the wheel. So he's trying to gather it up. Yeah, he's probably a little bit too heavy on throttle for too long. Probably not a bad thing. It probably saved him. Oh shit, what'd I do? Probably saved him in the most case, being on throttle there. If he got off throttle, it probably would have looped around. So not bad. And he's trying to gather it up. But again, in this instance, we'd probably ask that if you are a lap car and you're getting loose like this, you're probably best off, you know, at this stage here. At this stage here, as soon as you're starting to get loose, brake hard, get off the racing line, and let the car behind pass. But it's not his fault. He's trying to gather it up. Car behind just needed to be a bit more patient and just not run up the back of him. So you can see here he's loose. He's to the right. He's like, oh, where's he going? Where's he going? But he just stays flat into him. He doesn't try and brake. He doesn't try and... Yeah, there's no braking at all. So there's no... Oh, sorry, there is. It's just dark. I thought I saw him brake. There he goes. So, yeah, very late reaction. So definitely need to get that reaction time much earlier and just match the speed. You know, just ease off, work out what the car ahead is doing, and then just work your way around. So there's been 2 of these crashes in this race, so we'll definitely have to address that. All right. Okay, this one's for position, so this one we'll have to talk about a bit more, I think. Let's take it back a little bit more. So you can see that the cars ahead are battling. Who's making the overtake? So the pink car's being overtaken by the VB car. Let's check this one first. Yep, that's all fair. So a little bit of a bump there, but he is up well alongside. The pink car could be more to the right, but that's fine. Bumping is fine. Puts him offline a little bit, no worries. So now he's off speed a little bit. All right, now this is the important point here. So car behind is trying to take advantage of an opportunity of the car in front being a little bit off pace. So he tries to send it, but unfortunately misjudges it. And there's a few factors here. So number one, look where the VB car is ahead. Look how wide he is. And for this corner, you need to be out wide, and then you lift off and you turn in and you hit that apex. I could try and show that on a different lap. And that gives you the best run through here. So fastest and most efficient. But we are aware that new drivers aren't confident through here, and what they see is that they need to be tight. They need to be tight down here, and they need to run an inside line around here. That's how every new driver to Laguna Seca drives this corner. So what we have here is having an inexperienced driver in the pink car. I probably wouldn't say inexperienced, but a less experienced, with a more experienced car behind. So what happens here for him is he's expecting that car to be more to the right, following that green VB car. And as a consequence, when the pink car goes to run his line, he starts coming across. And although the car behind reacts, it's not early enough. So I would say, in this case, this would be a racing incident because it's too hard to gauge. You can't say that the pink car should have been to the right because this is the pink car's racing line. If we jump onto the lap earlier, let's go to a lap prior. Oops, on the pink car. Oh, dang it. Bear with me, I'm completely lost where I was now. And I think I've just locked it to this car. Alright, let's jump on. Not sure who it was. Pink car, here we go. Into the race. Probably when he pitted. Alright, we got this one. We got this one. Just let me catch back up to where I was. Oh, we're a fair way behind. Oh, here we go. Should be the next incident. Okay, here we go. Alright, so I need to be on the pink car. And let's jump a lap forward. No, we want to go a lap backwards. Okay, here we go. So if we get to that same corner. Yeah, and the reason they keep it tight is because it's a confidence issue. So they're not confident, especially single monitor. So you'll see here that, well, it's pretty wide there. Let's just check that. Alright, so at his widest, he's about at the shadow. Oops. So he's probably about 2/3 of the way across, probably on that 2/3 line. So that's interesting. So he's quite wide here, but he does follow, he follows a wide line. Alright, let's compare that to the next lap. So he gets overtaken up here. So he's here. I think he turns down a bit earlier. So maybe he's trying to be a bit defensive here, because he's definitely not as wide as he was the lap before. So perhaps he's trying to be a bit defensive, but he's just left it a bit too late. So in this case, if you're going to be defensive like that, you've got to do it much earlier. So if you know there's a car coming, you'd be already across, moving across to that right-hand side. Sorry, left-hand side. So I don't know if he's reacting here to the car coming, or maybe he's trying to turn in early. This is a little trick that some guys do too. If they see a car coming up behind, they'll turn in early to try and shut that door and make it look like they were turning in for the corner. So if there is an incident, race control will deem that, you know, the car behind was at fault because they were already turning in. So that can be a bit cunning. So we're going to have to be careful of that one. We might have to include that in the rule update, that if you are turning in early, that's not on. And by this stage, so by the time he starts turning in, well, it's not really turning, it's just letting it. Oh, he does a little twitch there. So yeah, I think he's watching his mirrors. You can see his wheel does a little turn to the right and then straightens out. Yeah, I think he's trying to be defensive and it just went wrong for him. Yeah, interesting. But again, the car behind always has to think about the limited space that they have available. So in our rules, the car ahead must leave racing room, and the car behind must expect to use a limited room that car ahead will leave them. So in this case, he could have been much tighter here. Even though he expected the pink car to be more to the right, he should have been more tighter here to avoid this contact. So in this case, you know, you want to say there's not much they could do, but absolutely he could have stayed more left here. If he stayed left, more of a straight line down the hill, this contact would have been avoided. Or if he just checked up, appreciating that it is a tricky corner up here and is probably being opportunistic. Yeah, definitely opportunistic. Yeah, so this car could have just checked up and just tucked in and made a move later on. You don't have to make a move straight away. You've got plenty of laps to set people up and work out their weaknesses. You know, you shouldn't be just sending it on everyone and hoping for the best. You gotta make a plan. How am I going to get past this car? Get past them? All right, next car. How am I going to get past this car? You know, go through the process. Check their I rating. Check their safety rating. Understand their sort of rough ability based on those two factors, and then follow them for a lap. See how they're driving. See where their lines are. See where the opportunities are, and then when you're ready, then set up the overtake. And the car ahead. Yeah, certainly. If they intended to defend, they should have done it much earlier. Because they've left it so late, then they probably should have stayed much wider. They don't have to. They can close the door on the car behind, but it's just, again, drive to survive. You don't want to be driving across somebody's nose, getting yourself spun. In this case, you can see there that the car behind did try and straighten him out. That's a little technique that people do. If they do accidentally spin someone, you can see, oh shit, yep. So you turn right, straighten out, and you try and just bump them straight again. A little touch on the front, and just try and straighten them out again. So although they've lost control, that other car can now jump on the brakes, use the brakes to straighten out the car like it is, let the car gather up. He probably got off the brakes again too early. Does he hold this? No, he held that well. And then because that car ahead has made a mistake in this situation, the car ahead should have redressed. And I think that was announced on the radio, but you shouldn't need race control to tell you to redress. Like, this needs to be just part and parcel. So car ahead, back off, let him have the position back, and then reset up the overtake. Alright, next one. Okay, again, tricky. Tricky. Okay, so you can hear this car. So there's a lead car overtaking a lap car. Orange is a lap car. And orange car is offline and trying to control the car. So let's jump on board with them. Let's listen to their engine. So in their mind, at this point here, they're still washing out. From what they can feel and see, they're still washing out. They don't realize that they could be on the throttle now, progressively on the throttle, and straightening out that wheel and tucking in behind the 912 and, and maintaining that gap to the car ahead. So in their mind, they're still washing out. So they wait. They wait until their car is pointing in the right direction that they want to go, and then they start accelerating. So this is something to be aware of with the lower rating drivers. They're much more patient on the throttle because they don't have that control of the car like the higher guys do. They don't have that control, so they have to be more patient. And then they wait for the car to be straight, and then they accelerate. We've all been here. When you're not confident in the car, you always wait on throttle. Always. Because you don't have that confidence in the car. You expect back here, at this point here, he could have been on the throttle here. But he would feel like if he got on throttle, the car would just push him off track. So he waits, and then the car behind, you can hear that he's not flooring it, but he's on throttle just a little bit. So he's obviously anticipating the car ahead to go, and he's ready to, he's a little bit of throttle to maintain the momentum, and he's ready to just floor it once that car goes. Yeah, you can hear that he's on and off. Let's check if he brakes at all. Yeah, he does. So he taps, he's on the brakes, still on the brakes, still on the brakes. So he's probably doing a bit of brake and throttle application at the same time there. Riding the brakes just to maintain that speed, waiting for the car to go. But he's still carrying a bit too much speed. So again, you've got to manage that gap and you've got to match that speed of the car ahead. Or alternatively, get in much tighter. It's hard to gauge because you would expect the car on the left to be on throttle and pushing wider out to that outside edge, using up all the track. So again, you've got to understand that this guy might be a lower I rating. He's not going to be confident to use all the track. He's going to give himself a margin. So in that case, car behind, needs to be much tighter, using, putting himself on the inside of halfway of the track to the right there. Yeah, he's too far to the left at this stage. But that's fine. Minor contact. There was no real issue there. Just a bit of a bump. Didn't upset or damage anyone. But it did... Oh, not sure where that car went. But it did hamper his ability to keep up with that other car that he's racing with. So yeah, that definitely hurt his momentum. For the lap car, he could be appreciating that these guys are in battle. Even though he's getting overtaken here. Probably could have stayed a bit wider. And just try to be have more momentum so that he's not impacting the cars behind so much. So yeah, not sure why he disappears here. Probably just a bit of network loss. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. What the hell? All right, next one. Oh, yes. Okay, so same thing again. He's trying to get nice and tight so he can get a better run out of there. And then unfortunately, yeah, too tight. Turning too much coming down the hill. So same mistake as before. This driver did have an issue with this corner quite a few times. But you can see here at this stage, he should be he should be straight lining this. Or at least a little bit, just slightly right hand down, not as much as he is. You can see he's got a lot of right hand down, and then you'll hear that he'll be quite heavy on the throttle. Yeah. So it's just that blip, that vroom, and that's all it takes. But yeah, it needs to be much straighter coming down there. Alright, moving on. Actually, we'll talk about rejoin here. So this is a tricky one. So he's got to try and do a rejoin. Oh no, his car's too damaged. There we go. Looks for a gap. Round he goes. Got to be quick. Cars are coming. I know he's fine. And that's the right thing. If you've got to go across the track, that's fine. Just make sure there's a massive gap. 10 seconds or more. rule of thumb, 10 seconds. If there's a 10-second gap, you're okay to drive across the track. But yeah, you want to get to the non-racing side of the track, non-racing line side, and then rejoin from there. All right, next one. What do we got? So corkscrew again. Same thing again. Too much throttle, turning too much. Hopefully he checked. Okay, that's a bad rejoin. And let's talk about what happened here. So you don't want to do a flick spin on the track, even if you think you have time, because if that went wrong, if that spun too far or he got stuck halfway, there could potentially be a car coming down that hill and he's going to clean them up. So it's always important to get, if you need to go across track, go all the way across track. Go all the way, get to the other side, and then keep going. So maybe he intended to do that, but it flicked harder on him. But that's fine. He got away with that one. Not sure what that one was. Oh, let's see what happened here. That's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one. So I'm not sure what happened to him here. Might have just left it too late to brake. And broke maybe a little bit too heavy and just washed out. So yeah, it's always important to drive to the conditions. Maybe there's a bit of gravel on the track and they just washed out on the gravel. All right, next one. Oh, that's it. Race end. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. I hope that's been insightful. Again, we're not trying to blame anyone here. We're just trying to highlight what you can and cannot do and how to mitigate these things in the future. So if you're a lapped car, if you're a lead car, you know, there's a few silly mistakes in there. And it's just about being patient. Be patient, be considerate, drive to survive, get yourself to the end. You know, the people who win this race are the ones who get the least amount of incidents. They're the ones who, you know, effectively navigate the lap cars and effectively navigate, you know, the incidents on track. So, well done, everyone. We're enjoying the season. We're loving all our drivers. Everyone's doing really well. Just got to be a little bit more patient and we'll be good to go. All right, that'll do us for today. Thanks, everyone, for coming along, and we'll see you all next time.